The author Alex Michaelides is an incredibly popular, if somewhat divisive, mystery thriller author, and in this video I'm going to be ranking and reviewing all three of his novels, including his soon-to-be published novel, The Fury. Let's talk about it. Hey guys, hope you're doing well today. I, for one, am having a great week. Today, I wanted to talk to you about the three novels by the author Alex Michaelides. The reason I'm talking to you about his books now is because his newest novel, The Fury, comes out in January. Here's the release date. Can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but there you have it. I was lucky enough to receive an e-arc of this from NetGalley, so I did read it a couple of months ago, and I want to talk to you guys about not only The Fury, but also about all of Alex Michaelides' books, because I have now read all three of his novels. That's it. That's what this video is going to be. I think I'm going to make a series out of this. All the authors that I've read, like all of their published works in, I'm going to do little short reviews and rank them from my least favorite to favorite. So let me know if there are any authors that you want me to try to do this for, and I can go ahead and try to see if I want to read all of their books and do that. We'll see if I actually commit to doing that, but it's an interesting idea at the very least. Just to provide some context, Alex Michaelides has published, like I said, three novels. Those are The Silent Patient, The Maidens, and The Fury, which is set to release in January of 2024. I've read all three. I read them as they came out, and I'm very excited to talk to you about them today. Before I jump into my ranking of these books, though, I did want to put out this one disclaimer, and it's something that really does bother me about these books. So each one of these is technically a standalone, but there is a continuous thread throughout all of them that lets you know that they're set in the same world. I won't tell you to what extent that is the case, but there is a continuous plot thing that carries on through all three books. And because of that, unfortunately, you have to really read them in chronological order. At the very least, you need to read The Silent Patient before you read The Fury, because for some reason, the publisher allowed Alex Michaelides to write a major spoiler for The Silent Patient into The Fury. I hope they maybe edited it out after the e-arcs went out or something, but yeah, don't read The Fury if you haven't read The Silent Patient yet. Sorry. Without further ado, let's jump into number 3 on my ranking. So if you've watched my videos for very long, or if you know me as a person, then you won't be too surprised by my number 3. That book is The Maidens by Alex Michaelides, of course. I read this book before it came out. I got an e-arc of this one as well, and I was very excited because Alex Michaelides was an up-and-coming author. I had read The Silent Patient, and I had enjoyed that book. I will spoil that much for my ranking. And so I was very hopeful for The Maidens, and I have perhaps never been... No, I can think of one or two other occasions in which I've been more disappointed in a book, but there aren't very many instances. I did not like The Maidens at all, really. And I'm not really one to be negative typically, so I'm gonna allow myself this a little bit in my ranking video here, but just know I'm not typically a negative person. This book just really did not work for me. Like I said, I had high expectations to a certain extent, but more than anything, I just wanted to read a book that made sense. And this one did not make sense to me. So here's what this book is about. We follow a young-ish woman. I believe her name was Marion or Mariana. I can't remember if it's Marion or Mariana. But she is related to this younger girl who is going to this university, and there is a murder at the university. And for some reason, our main character decides to start digging into all this and try to find out what's going on. The problem is, the main character is like the least interesting person in this story, and also it doesn't really make sense that she's the one who's going about investigating what is going on. So that right there didn't make much sense to me, just to start off. On top of that, you have like this secret, almost like cult-ish society within the university. It's kind of like a sorority or something, but they're all kind of obsessed with this one specific professor, and he has this little group of people that are called the Maidens that are kind of like his posse or whatever. And that really didn't play as much into the book as I thought it would as well. And then on top of that, my biggest issue with this book is I feel like the author really needed or felt the need to have like a really strong twist. And so he came up with one, but then didn't really justify that twist in the process of the story. And that's something that really bothers me in mystery thrillers, because I feel like a really good twist should be one where it takes you by surprise, but after it's revealed, you're like, oh my gosh, I should have seen that coming. That's like a really great twist to me. This one was just totally out of left field. didn't feel earned, didn't feel realistic in any way, shape, or form, and just was an ultimate letdown for me personally. So this is a book that when I read it, I was really disappointed, and that disappointment has definitely stuck with me. And so I ultimately gave this book 2 stars, and it's one that I don't really recommend very often just because I did not personally enjoy it. That being said, I do know there are some people out there who did enjoy it. I know people who have given this book 5 stars, and more power to you, because I'm not going to tell you what to enjoy or what not to enjoy. But for me personally, The Maidens is my least favorite book by Alex Michaelides. Which brings me to my number 2 spot in Alex Michaelides' books, and that is what's going to be The Fury by Alex Michaelides. I keep saying that. I keep saying by Alex Michaelides. Sorry. The Fury, yes, is in my number 2 spot. So like I said, this is Alex Michaelides' upcoming release coming out in January. There's a lot of hype around this book, and I will say this is a significant step up from The Maidens. I did enjoy myself with this book quite a bit. So what's this book about? We are being told a story by a character named Elliot. And at the start of the story, he's basically like sitting down at a bar, and he asks you, the reader, to sit down with him and let him tell you this story about himself and about his friends who are all famous, and about a terrible thing that happened one time on an island that they went to together. And so it is the unraveling of that story. What I can tell you about this book is that it is incredibly slow. It is. I don't really think a whole lot of significance, at least to you in the moment, happens for the first 2/3 of this novel. You really have to commit to the process. You really have to commit to the storytelling style of this book. And on top of that, you really have to get invested in the characters and all of their internal struggles and their internal motivations, I guess. And ultimately, there is some great payoff. I will say that. There are some twists in this book, and the last third of this novel felt like being a punching bag. It was like twist, 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 twist. It was relentless. I felt like I was whipped around all over the place, and for that reason, I'll say I recommend this book. Did I love it? No, I liked it a lot. I will say that. I didn't love it. I liked it a lot. It's a book that is flawed. I think that the first half to 2/3 is too slow, and I think that the author could have done a better job of perhaps layering the reveals a little bit more throughout the story, and also helping you to get a little bit more invested in some of these characters throughout it. That being said, I gotta give it to him. He did a really good job of taking me by surprise in a way that felt honest, because like I said, my biggest issue with The Maidens is that it felt like a cheap twist almost. But with this one, I will say the twists that take place make sense with the characters. They're kind of ridiculous twists, I can admit that, but given the dramatic nature, the over-the-top nature of a lot of the characters we're dealing with in this book, I get it. And I'm all right with it. So overall, not a perfect novel. I think it is definitely too slow in the first half. I had a few issues with the execution of the final third, and ultimately, I didn't love any of the characters really, but I will say it was enjoyable. I had a good time. I read it really quickly. So The Fury by Michaelides gets a 3.5 star from me, and it is my second favorite book by Alex Michaelides. Which brings us to number 1, which, is anyone surprised, it's The Silent Patient. This is Alex Michaelides' first novel, and it's the one that really propelled him into stardom, because for a debut novel to come out of nowhere and be this popular is very rare. And it's one that deserves the acclaim, I will say. So what do we have in this book? We have a terrible event that has happened at the very start of this novel, and it kind of bounces back and forth between kind of detailing what happened and the aftermath. We have a woman who was involved in a terrible accident and is now in like a psychiatric ward, but she will not speak. She will not tell any details to anyone about what is going on, including her therapist, Teddy. And yeah, this book is crazy. The way that the narrative is revealed throughout the story is really fascinating. There are some crazy twists, some really pulse-pounding moments throughout this book, and ultimately there are some really, really great things that I enjoyed throughout the entirety of this book. That's what I'll say about this one. It doesn't carry on, or it doesn't have the same issues that I had with The Fury, in that the reveals all come at the end, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is a much more weighty portion of my enjoyment at the end than at the beginning. I thoroughly enjoyed The Silent Patient throughout my time with it. So it's one that I look back on very fondly, and ultimately I keep waiting for Alex Michaelides to be able to top The Silent Patient, but he has not done it yet. I'm hoping that he will someday, and I will continue to read his books because, as I said, The Fury was a big improvement over the Maidens, and he kind of earned my trust back a little bit with that one. If The Fury had not been as good as it was, and if I had felt like it was more of kind of the stuff that was going on in the Maidens, I don't know if I'd ever read another one of his books. But given how much I did enjoy The Silent Patient and The Fury, I will definitely continue on with those other books. But that's it. That is my ranking and my mini reviews for all 3 books by Alex Michaelides. Let me know in the comments what you think of this author's works, if you've read any of them, if you're hoping to read The Fury when it comes out. I do recommend it. The only one of these 3 that I don't recommend is The Maidens. I did not enjoy that one, but the other 2 are definitely worth your time and have something of interest to offer. Thank you again so much for watching this video, though. I truly appreciate your time, and I hope you have a great day. Bye!